for Dr. J.
So what are we talking about?
We never chose. Well, I was distracted today.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships and go. No.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, are you talking about cisnormative?
I'm not even sure what it means. Like, I've heard this term and I never looked it up.
Okay, from what I gather.
You don't either, do you?
No. Cisnormative, I think, is basically just heterosexual, straight up, understanding the traditional role of men and women. That's what I think it's supposed to mean.
Well, it sounds like it's easier to say cisnormative than to say all that at one time, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought straight worked because it's one word, right?
Yeah, we can't use that anymore.
It's so simple.
But you could be straight and identify.
Oh, I see.
You see?
So that's a problem.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Cisnormative.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mouthful.
Mm-hmm.
Which I should like because it's a polysyllabic word and I'm a big fan of those.
I wanna find the picture I sent you, because maybe we should just. There's our podcast. We're gonna go through all these terms.
Okay.
That is a hell of a thing right there. All right.
I mean, if terms help, I think they're great. If they muddy the waters, I think that creates problems.
So my thing is how the term is used.
I see.
So the first one on the list is fatphobic.
Is this a recent one?
This is the thing I sent you yesterday that I found on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to talk about where I got it from.
No.
We're just going to focus on the list of words. So the first one is fatphobic. And go.
Well, I'm not fatphobic. I mean,
I think the question is, what does it mean?
I'm guessing it means you don't like people who are overweight. Is that how it's being used?
Or are you afraid of people who are overweight?
The word phobia gets us into some problems.
Yes.
Morgan Freeman actually talks about this. He's like, You're not homophobic. You're just an asshole. That actually solves a lot of these problems with terminology. Don't just the word you use across the board is asshole.
Yeah.
And just leave it at that.
Just leave it there.
We'll pause for station identification.
No, we're good. All right. I think what it is that they're afraid, or what they're implying is that people are afraid of, I don't know, of being overweight.
This is the problem, or discriminating against people who are.
There you go. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. But there's another way to say that, and it's just, there's got to be another way to say it. Because phobic means fear.
Mm-hmm.
If they're claiming it's fear, I don't think it's fear. I think there are people who find it disgusting that someone's overweight.
Yeah.
And they judge them entirely on their weight.
Yeah.
That's a better way to put it, because it's not fear. Well, I guess they would probably say, well, no, it is fear.
Yeah.
What if it's not fear? What do you call that? The word phobic gets us into some trouble.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Because I don't know.
You ready for the next one? It's a little easier. Actually, it's not. Racist.
Well, at least we've had that one in the lexicon for a while.
But they're redefining it.
Is our problem, okay, and I asked this the last time we had a podcast, is our problem that we're getting older and we've gotten so used to the terms and what they meant and now no longer mean?
I don't know.
Now time to pause for a station identification.
No. So racist, because if you look at D'Angelo, and that's where they're getting it from D'Angelo and Kendi, okay?
Right.
And what they're doing, and what they're saying is, just making sure it's still recording, what they're saying is that it's institutionalized and we have to redefine what the word means in order to get at the institutionalization.
So systematic racism.
Yeah.
Institutional racism.
Yes.
Okay.
But the act of racism means something completely different now.
Than what it used to be.
Yeah.
So you may be a racist and not even know you're a racist.
Yes.
But see, I don't agree with that.
I don't either.
Implicit bias is a better way to put it.
Yes.
Because everyone has an implicit bias, but it doesn't mean you're a racist. It means you have a bias.
That's it. It's like the...
You do this in class with colors.
Yes.
You may want to explain what you do in class
Okay,
with colors.
so I give them red, black, white, and yellow. And then I tell my students to mark or give as many positives and many negative connotations for each color. So like with, for example, red, a positive is love, a negative is anger, right? So we go through that and we get to where we get down to white, and they struggle with the color white. And what I explain to them is that we've been programmed to understand that the color white equals purity, it equals the ultimate positive. All the other colors do not. And if we actually pay attention to language, if we go all the way back to the Greeks, it starts there. Western civilization is the first civilization to actively use color to denote differences between people. Because nobody else does.
No.
Everybody else uses either philosophy or religion or politics.
Yep.
We're the first civilization in history to separate by color and program the language to reflect those differences. And that's the implicit bias.
Not racism.
Yeah.
I see racism as being an action.
Mm-hmm.
Bias is a state of being.
Yes.
And you can deprogram yourself
Yes.
to be less biased, but to use the word racist to mean implicit bias is wrong-headed
Yep.
and exceedingly dangerous.
Yep. Yes, it is.
So that word has been changed.
Hijacked and changed to fit their narrative.
But see, it kind of ultimately means that everyone's racist, as opposed to everyone has an implicit bias.
Yes.
But it's not specific. That's the problem. It's not specific enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't clarify the difference between I was raised with certain ideas that became a part of who I am, but I've overcome those ideas.
Yeah. It doesn't allow for that.
It doesn't allow for you not to be a racist.
Yeah.
You're a racist no matter what.
Yep.
And this is Kendi and D'Angelo,
Mm-hmm.
and they make the same claim.
Systematic. Yep. You're born into it.
But see, when I hear the word systematic racism, I think of, and you would agree with this, the justice system
Yeah.
is built in such a way, racism has been codified.
Yeah.
Hence, mandatory minimums for crack cocaine and powder cocaine.
Yep.
Crack cocaine is more time in jail than powder cocaine. Black people are disproportionately using crack cocaine over powder cocaine. White people disproportionately use powder cocaine over crack cocaine. So black people are disproportionately punished.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that.
That's systematic.
That's systematic. But what they're describing, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because it's conflating terms. Bias and racism are not the same thing.
No, they're not.
So how could you even go there? How do you arrive at that particular?
I think that is part of the problem that they struggle with, and that's why whenever you start to question it and you start to push back, they scream racism. Because you can easily, by defining the term that way and arguing that it is system-wide, okay, and that you're born with it and you're not going to get away from it. By doing that, then you can then turn the term towards, okay, well, I don't agree with that. Well, then you're racist. You're proving the racism. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm questioning your methods.
Okay.
And that in itself is a racist act.
There's got to be some sort of rhetorical fallacy going, or logical fallacy going on here.
Oh, yeah.
Because we would never allow students to get away with that.
No.
Not having to have evidence and using something you haven't provided evidence for to defend a claim.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, And this is the big stink in STEM right now. The scientific revolution happened among white guys, so it's automatically racist. We forget the fact the Chinese came up with gunpowder.
Pluckrose talks about this, right?
Yeah. We forget that the Egyptians perfected the unit of measurement.
And who invented Arabic numerals? I don't know. It might be in the name. I could be wrong.
You could be wrong there. But, because the scientific method was developed by a white man.
But it was developed. It's pygmies on the backs of giants without Middle Easterners.
Pygmies on the backs.
This is what it is. This is what it is. You're standing on the backs of giants. Europeans might have created the scientific method, but they couldn't have done it without Arabs, for example, who were the seat of knowledge during the Middle Ages. I mean, they were far ahead of anybody else.
But then the question becomes, where did they get that knowledge? Who ruled over them and gave them that knowledge?
Yeah.
The Greeks and the Romans.
Yeah.
So their arguments can go back to, see?
But the Greeks were Mediterranean.
Yes!
Not European.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Oh God, I don't know. We haven't exhausted this one, but sure, why not? Go ahead.
I think we have, because it's chasing the dog's tail.
Are you trying to give me a heart attack by the end of this podcast?
No. No, because we're getting to the next one is ageist. Ageism. And now here's what kills me. The way that the millennials define this is when you look at them and you say, you don't understand because you haven't lived this experience, they say, you're just being an ageist. You're saying I don't have agency in this because I haven't lived that experience, but I have had lived experiences.
I don't know many people who would say, okay, so to make judgments about someone because they're old is uncool. That's a problem.
But they flip it.
But to say you're too young to have had certain experiences as somehow being, I don't know, is this the appropriate face palm? Because I don't know, oh, I'm broken. But it's not wrong, it's true. Why would you...
And I think what's going to happen is when this generation that is pushing this reaches a certain age, they're going to realize, oh my God, they were right. I actually had a conversation with my son about this the other day. I had a conversation with Ezra
Gen Z.
about Lucas, okay? And Lucas is going through that phase right now that we all go through where I want to go conquer the world. Everything you say is dumb to me.
Yep.
I don't believe you. I trust you, but I don't trust you that far. And it's a stage. And we all go through it. It's called entering adulthood. You want to go out and take over the world. And God bless him for it. But I explained to Ezra, I said, he's going through that. I said, but around 25, he's going to slow down. And he's going to start to realize, wait a minute, that thing Mom and Dad said, they're actually kind of right. That thing that Dad said, he's kind of right. And that thing that my mom told me, she was kind of right. And you start to see that shift back, right? And I think what's going to happen is they're going to hit that shift back where they realize, oh, wait a minute. They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to warn me. And I'm starting to see it. I think when they reach that, this ageism shit's going to go away.
It's not a question of age, it's a question of experience. You just haven't been around long enough to have it. And if you've had these experiences by the time you're 18 or 20, you've led a really hard life. Yeah. And that sucks for you.
Yeah.
Like people who are sexually and physically and psychologically abused as children, they've lived and they have the experience. And to assume that they haven't, well, I mean, yeah, this one's always bothered me. Now, in the other direction, to assume that someone's old and therefore they're not capable, that's real ageism.
Yeah.
Going the other direction, it doesn't make sense.
That's what they're screaming right now.
Ageism is about older people, in my opinion, not younger people.
Now remember, all the terms that we're going through, they've changed them. They've shifted them. All right, ready for the next one? This is the one we were joking about in the hallway. Ableism.
Okay. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and say it, is near and dear to my heart. For those of you who don't know, I have a disability. And Brian is an ableist. I think the trouble with terms like that is that it rather unintentionally turns someone like me into my disability.
Yeah.
And I'm not my disability. My disability is a part of my identity, and it informs who I am, and I would be a different person without it.
Yeah.
But I'm more than that.
There's a joke that you and I have together. That I am your seeing eye person.
Yes.
Now, it's a joke.
Yes. But someone would take it very seriously.
Someone would take it seriously. But the reality is, the joke actually does have some truth to it.
Yes.
In that, when we're in public or we're somewhere where you can't see well, I have to be able to translate the world for you.
Well, this is...
But that's not ableism, and me and you and I together making light of that particular part of our own relationship is not ableism either. Because there's no offense between the two.
Well, and that's okay, so this goes back to our last, not our last conversation, but the last conversation we had out here, is it's a fundamental loss of a sense of humor. Mm-hmm. That Tracy Ullman skit on BBC about being overly virtuous. And the whole point is that there's no more humor, and you take everything so seriously that you're constantly looking for a microaggression, not realizing there's not one there,
Right.
and usually it's a joke.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had friends who've taken great offense at people making fun of my eyes. I'm like, why are you bothered by it? I'm the one who's blind. I clearly think it's hilarious. Why do you care so much?
Yeah.
And it's because they don't see the humor in it.
Right.
They don't. And I've learned I have to be careful about making fun of myself in front of other people.
Yeah,
And I'm the one who's disabled.
Yeah, when it gets to that point, there's a problem. Talking about systematic problems. That's a systematic problem that we're running into. My wife gets offended when I joke about my divorce record.
Which is impressive, by the way.
It is. It's quite impressive. I'm giving Ross a run for his money.
Oh, God. How many times was he divorced?
3 times. Hold on. So first it was Carol, the lesbian, and then Emily, and then Rachel. So yeah, 3 times. And at the end he gets Rachel, so there's a possible 4th divorce there waiting in the wings.
So why is she offended by you making fun of it? Because it's you making fun of your own divorces.
I know. She's a millennial, Jason.
See,
there is a lot of things that they generationally they take serious that they don't need to take serious. And like I've told you, and I've told her this too, they create anxiety. There are some things that really do create anxiety in this world, and you feel that anxiety. But then there are times when you're just making it. You're taking something and you're manifesting it as anxiety when you don't need to.
Okay.
Not you, but you.
So
know
I'm stuttering a little bit because I'm having trouble here. I admire.
Because she thinks it reflects on her.
Yeah, well.
But it's not.
No.
It's not.
No. I admire their intentions.
Yeah.
Social justice is kind of important. And again, I don't know many people who don't want social justice.
Yeah.
But this is a step too far when you can no longer make jokes about it.
Yeah. About your own misgivings.
I mean, am I going to say there's no such thing as ableism? No. I mean, but real ableism is not the same as making a joke.
Well, I think also, think of it like this. We're Gen Xers. We are the biggest generation of self-deprecators
Yes,
in the history of mankind.
I would agree with that.
We are constantly downing ourselves because we understand the cynical satire
Yes.
and how it actually is hilarious. It's kind of like this reverse narcissism almost. It's like this idea of poking fun at narcissistic ideals that don't really mean anything. And so we self-deprecate constantly. And I think they have a problem with that. And I think it's our fault that they have a problem with that. Because remember, the older part of our generation who taught us how to self-deprecate, they're the ones that were helicopter parents to these kids, you know?
I don't know. I figure that if anyone's qualified to make fun of me, it's me.
Yeah,
And I'm more concerned with real problems.
yeah,
Like a lack of accessibility for disabled people.
yeah,
You want to talk about ableism? Make that your conversation.
yeah,
Living in a society that's not made for people like me. We can have that conversation.
Yeah.
But humor, when you start removing humor, you create bigger problems because you can't see the joke.
yeah.
Yeah, that's my problem with ableism. Not the. No. Because I mean, I make fun of my friends who are disabled, and they make fun of me.
You make fun of me.
Yes.
I have my own disabilities.
Yes. Divorce. So I don't know what to say to that except that it's a, and this is the last conversation we had about it, it's a loss of humor.
It is.
There's no more comedic value in anything, and what they don't realize is that's how we deal with pain, is through humor. That's how you deal with trauma, is through humor. And you know what? And it's because they never watch MASH.
Yeah.
Because MASH is about making inappropriate jokes in a really shitty situation.
Well, it's not just MASH. It's Cheers. It's Seinfeld.
Yes.
It's South Park.
Yes. Oh, South Park. I'm surprised they haven't been canceled at this point.
You can't cancel something that big. They've tried and got nowhere. They tried when they did the movie. The movie predicted the exact reaction they would have, and they had it.
Yes. Well, I think, to be fair, they wanted it.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to
That
point
was
to a
the
problem.
point.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the point.
They want to show us a side of us that's not very appealing. But it should be. I think it's telling that South Park was a Gen X show.
Yeah. It still is.
It is. It's
All
not
right.
a millennial show.
No.
We need to be offended.
Yeah.
Obviously within reason.
Yeah. All right. So the next one, what we're going to do is
Yeah, ableism is, yeah.
sure it's still going. Yeah. Okay. So this next one, I'm actually going to go online and I'm going to find the true definition so we know.
You're going to tell me the definition before you tell me the word? So I can figure it out?
All right. Come on. My phone is being my phone.
You know, if you had an iPhone, you wouldn't have these problems. You would have an entirely different set of problems.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Okay, here we go. The assumption that all human beings are cisgender or have a gender identity which matches their biological sex.
So what's it called?
Cisnormative.
Okay.
Again, the assumption that all human beings are cisgender, i.e. have a gender identity that matches their biological sex.
And again, like all the other terms, there's some truth here. We talked about Saeed and the other.
Yeah.
I think we can get behind that. But
Yep.
I think the terms are getting too complicated.
You think?
Again, the intention and the idea behind it makes sense. Like the bathroom bill.
Yeah.
Again, a terrible bill.
Yeah.
Because it significantly discriminates against a particular group. Fine. But I'm not sure we needed another term to qualify what that meant. Because we already had one. Well, kind of had one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking a lot. You need to step in.
No, I'm just letting you go, man. I don't, first of all, I don't know why we have to have this word. This word means nothing.
Yeah.
It's not saying anything. It's not contributing anything. It's a pointless word. The only people who use this word are social justice warriors. That's it.
I think that's the problem with a lot of these terms,
Yeah.
is that you're ultimately hiding the meaning from the word from the public.
Yeah.
And it makes it impossible to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, that's...
Because, I don't understand why we have to have this word. It doesn't make sense to me. The reason why they advocate for this word is for specific groups of people that are not this word.
Yeah.
But they're so small in numbers that you don't have to change the name of the majority to suit, and this is going to sound so, I don't even know if it's on here. It's going to sound so, I don't know, people-phobic. We'll come up with that one. Or hue-phobic. Because it's not human or hue-person phobic. There we go. I'm a hue-person phobic. It's going to sound bad. You don't change the name of the majority because this small group, that half of them aren't even demanding recognition.
Yeah.
They just want to live their lives and be themselves. They don't want all this this puffy bullshit, right? The pomp and circumstance. However, let me finish. So, but at the same time, the terms that we have for them are good enough.
Yes.
To separate them from, okay, so I am a bisexual transgender. Okay, we got it now. We know who you are. We understand what that means.
And we're cool with it.
Yeah. I am not. Thus, I am outside of that group.
Yes.
Okay? Done.
Yeah.
So to me, they're coming to get me. They heard it and they're coming. So to me, that word there's no point to have that word. There's no reason whatsoever to have this word.
We already have words that work.
Yeah.
Is your point.
Exactly.
So it's an extra word that's not necessary.
That's not necessary, but is being turned into a slight.
I think Gen Z won't use it once they get to be older. I think it'll just be, this is who you are.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're the ones using the non-binary. Which to me, that's another one. What?
Or gender fluid is probably the best way to think about it.
Yeah, gender fluid. Okay, great. I'm down with that. But non-binary? So you're not a computer? You're not DOS?
I think the bigger problem, and again, I don't know if it's age, but the terms are proliferating at such a rate that it's there's no way to tell if you're on the right page or not.
Well, to be fair, our generation went through this, and you'll know what I'm talking about as soon as I say it, but our generation went through this with a specific word that denoted a specific type of person who preferred a specific type of sexuality, and it's the asexual.
Yep.
We were the generation that said, well, we're going to use the term asexual because we're neither bi, nor homo, nor hetero. We're just asexual.
Yes. I remember this word well.
And I remember when it came out, I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
I think the problem isn't...
You like the alphabet? I don't get it.
I think the problem is, again, I think we're seeing so many changes and so rapidly.
Yeah.
There's no getting the public on board.
No.
Introduce a term, give it some time, introduce another term. Give it some time, introduce another term.
Yeah.
And normalize it. For the American people.
Yeah.
For all of them. Just normalize it. Don't throw a string of words up, because people just can't handle that. For one reason or another, it's just too much for people.
Yeah.
Our students can't handle the knowledge we're throwing at them. The rules keep changing. And again, that's fine. That's fine. But it doesn't have to happen as quickly as it is.
Yeah.
And using terms like trans, for example, is a great term. It denotes an entire group.
Yes, it
very
does.
Clearly.
And we don't. If you want to talk about how people react to that group, then talk about how they're reacting to that group. It's not the term's fault.
Yeah. Well, we also have other terms.
And that's also part of that cisnormative thing is a pushback.
Yeah. But we also have other terms, okay? So we've had other terms for a long time that indicate cisnormativity. For example, straight white male.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
Because it tells you the person is not transgender, and it tells you that they're straight and they're male.
Or here's one that they don't like, straight black female. Because apparently, and they point this out, if you go and watch any of the Evergreen stuff, they hammered trans black female. That's like the pinnacle.
And what was the reason?
That's as far as you can go. That's like the lowest of the low as far as when you're talking about like who's discriminated against.
Okay, and I get that part, but we have, it's just, we already have terms that one, don't discriminate, and two, tell you everything you need to know. Without any problems. They work.
Yeah.
Straight white male, straight white female, straight black male, straight black female.
Yeah.
Straight Jewish
Asian
male,
Jewish male.
It's clear.
Native American male.
And then you change the terms to say trans Asian male. I get it. You've given me something extraordinarily specific. And that person identifies as those things. All of those things. They're Asian American, they're straight or trans.
Yeah.
And they're trans male. And we're done. To add another term seems to be inefficient when we already have. In fact, you could make the claim that cisnormativity isn't specific enough where trans white male and straight white male are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or trans straight white male or whatever. The terms we have are more specific than cisnormative. The cisnormative is a sweeping term.
Well, and the other thing that you said a couple of times in that is identify. So we're going to save the last word after we talk about identification, because identify is not on here, but it's a word I have a huge problem with.
Okay.
Because when you ask somebody, how do you identify, or do you identify, because this is one of the things in D'Angelo's book, when you identify as a white person, or you identify as a black person, or you identify as Asian, I have a problem with that phrase. And I think they're doing it purposely because there is rhetorical value by making it an action.
Yeah. As opposed to it's who you are.
Yeah. I don't identify. I am.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think a transgender person, I don't think you can identify if you're trans because it is who you are.
Yeah.
You are hardwired for it.
That's it.
It is me.
Yeah.
I didn't choose this. This is who I am.
This is who I am.
Otherwise, I wouldn't, because you don't choose these things.
Right.
You are those things.
But when you put it as identify, you're choosing.
Well, it's a way of indicating power.
Yeah.
You have the power to make your own choices about who you are.
Yeah.
But I don't think you do.
No.
I don't think you do.
And who you are.
We see it with Mike Pence when he talked about Buttigieg and said he made his choice. It's not a choice.
It's not a choice. I've been telling Lauren that for years, and she struggles with that.
You're just giving ammunition to the Christian right when you say it's a choice.
Yeah.
Because the whole argument for our generation was, this is natural. This is who you are.
That's who you identify.
And it's our job to accept
it's who you
are.
identify as, not in the action verb sense.
No.
It's who you are.
Who you are.
So, and that's the problem I have with these books and the way they twist that term to make it an action. Because but then all of a sudden, like, if you identify as the wrong thing, now you're in trouble. And that's dangerous.
I agree.
So, yeah, I don't like that term identify.
Well, because you don't choose.
No.
There's no choice. And I don't know of anyone who would choose to be something that was hated.
Well, that's what Buttigieg said. Buttigieg was hilarious when he said, if I wanted to choose anything, I would choose to be heterosexual because it's not fun being homosexual.
It's hard. It's hard.
He said, I didn't choose this.
You're living in a society that not necessarily by and large anymore, but views you as being unacceptable.
Yeah.
Who chooses to be unacceptable?
Exactly.
You don't choose. A trans person goes through hell every day.
Yeah. A true
trans person goes through hell every day. They would probably not choose that if they had a chance at birth to make a choice.
Yeah.
Because it's that hard.
Yeah.
You think I'm going to choose to be visually impaired? And I'm not saying being trans is its ability, but I wouldn't choose this. This is hard.
Well, and talking about terminology, we're going to come back to the last word because the last one was so much fun. But talking about verbiage and language and stuff, is a disability truly a disability? How do we define what a disability is? Or is it just part of your character?
Yeah.
Is it how it's just how you were made?
Yes.
You know? So
there's no shame in it.
Yeah. So what, I know we call, and I usually, this is the thing, and a former colleague of ours she used to get onto my case, but I honestly don't like the word disabled. I don't like that word because that means you're less than.
Yeah.
When we were taught, and this is what I was telling, I told you this before. We were taught religiously as children by Mr. Rogers, by Sesame Street, by Reading Rainbow, all these. We're not different. It doesn't matter what disabilities you have, it's still a human being on the inside. And that human being has dreams, aspirations, desires, wants. They want to love, they want to laugh.
Yeah.
So I don't like the word disabled because what that does is it immediately sets them aside.
Well, and disability is a newer word too, because when I was a kid, I was never called disabled.
Right.
I was called handicapped.
Right.
And that word became unacceptable.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well, and we talked about retarded before, right? And that our generation largely, now there were some kids that actually did use it in a menacing way, but largely as a generation, we never used that word for someone who was disabled or handicapped.
No.
Because we were taught those people are not that.
Exactly.
But when you do something stupid,
it's reappropriating the term.
Yeah.
And changing what the term means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we did as a generation. And then they told us we couldn't do that. Why not?
Yeah.
And I've told my students in A&T, I'm guilty of this. I've told them, you can't use the N-word in my classroom if I can't use it. If it's derogatory coming from me, it's derogatory coming from you. And one of the arguments that Tiffany had, and she's right, but we're taking and reappropriating that word. Okay, that's cool.
It means
that's
something
what you
else.
want to do. It means something else. But then to turn around and tell us that we can't reappropriate a word like retarded, you're playing by a different set of rules then. Because our generation took that word and changed it.
It didn't mean the same thing afterward.
No, it didn't. When we said, when we looked at somebody and said, don't be a retard, we meant, don't be stupid.
We didn't mean don't be
idiot.
someone with Down syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, so anyway, yeah, I'm not a big fan of the word disabled. Because again, the whole thing that we were taught, and this is what's driving me nuts about this particular movement, we were taught everybody's the same. And they beat it in our heads.
Yep.
Everybody's the same. And now this group has come along and they want to say, not everybody's the same. No, everybody is the same. Everybody's treated differently. there's a difference. Now, you can make that argument. But to say that you're inherently different, no, you're not. Because we all are the same. We all want the same things. Now, I will argue this, and I said this I tell my students this all the time, and I've told my children this. You're not special, but you are unique, because nobody has lived the life that you've led. Nobody's experienced the things you've experienced through the lens that you've experienced them in. But does that make you different from me? No, because you still want the same things I want.
Same desires.
Same desires.
Yeah.
You know? So when you step back at it and look at it from that lens, it's how each individual gets to those desires that's different, not the desires themselves. So if you're going to split us back up and you're going to resegregate everything, you're destroying all of that. And now you're restricting people on what desires they can and cannot have. It's feudalism all over.
Yeah, I don't know that I really like being cordoned off as an individual, because there's a wonderful episode of The West Wing when Josh is meeting with a Republican senator who's gay, and they're trying to pass legislation, or trying to keep legislation from being passed that would deny certain rights to gay people.
Yeah.
And Josh finally asked him, how can you be a part of this party? How can you do that? And the response the senator gives him is, I'm gay. But that's not all I am. It doesn't have to be all about that one thing. Whereas me, I become kind of a poster child and a representative of all people with disabilities. But I'm also a poet and a professor and a soccer enthusiast. Why do I have to be
defined? And a pain in my ass.
And a pain in your ass. And apparently extraordinarily desirable. So the question...
You just can't see it, Jay.
I can't see it. Oh! So the question is, why should I be okay with being turned into my disability?
Yeah.
Why should I be okay with any kind of designation that limits my identity? And I shouldn't be, but I am. And I've done it. I'll be the first to admit it. I've done it. Mm-hmm. I just want to live a life, man. I want to go about my business, doing my thing. Do I have a disability? Yes. Is my entire existence defined by it? I certainly hope not.
No.
Because if it is, that's no way to live.
No. And you've made fun of me for doing this, but there are times where I don't even think about it.
Exactly.
And I show you my phone to show you something funny, and you laugh at me and say, you think I can see that.
Yeah. So, no, but it's just, I think the danger, and you use the word segregation, I think we get so hung up. We're making these identities matter in ways that may not be helpful.
Yeah.
I remember, and we're going back to ableism again, I was always treated with kid gloves as a child by everybody because I was that kid.
Yeah.
Until this counselor came into the school. I don't know why he was there. And he was in our class one day and he made fun of me. And everyone was horrified. The only person laughing was me. Because no one had ever done that before. And I'm like,
this is great.
You get it.
Yeah.
You don't take it seriously. I don't want to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Why is everyone taking it seriously?
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be me all the time.
Yeah.
And I went through a phase where it was all I was, and I focused on it.
Yeah.
Then I realized, but I'm also these other things. Mm-hmm. I'm disabled, but I write, I teach, I watch hockey. I'm an Episcopalian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm many things.
Yeah.
And the segregation puts you in a very rigid box.
What's interesting, what I don't think people realize about you is you're not just an Episcopalian, you are an uber active member of your congregation.
Yeah.
The amount of work you do at that church exhausts me.
Well, if you had to ask me to identify myself as anything, it would not be disabled. It would be, I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
That's what I am. I mean, yes, I also have a disability, but
yeah.
I'm primarily an Episcopalian. Oh, I forgot, I'm also a father.
Yeah.
And a spouse.
Yeah.
And any number of other things.
My old Facebook thing was Reader, writer, smoker, dad.
Yeah, and at no point do you have to identify yourself as any one thing, and why
Right.
should you? We are complicated individuals.
We are.
And to force someone to live inside of a box and to quite frankly become a poster child is insulting.
Yeah.
I don't need anyone's pity. I'm doing okay. I got advanced degrees in English. I teach. I live a life. I'm doing all right.
You're doing okay for yourself.
I've cracked the code.
All right, you ready for the last one?
Oh Jesus.
We're down to the end.
Bullshit.
No,
That one's there.
it's there, but we're not going to go that far.
Although
We're just
I like-
focusing on the list.
I do like that one though.
Yeah, I know. But we're just focusing. They don't use that they haven't changed that. It still means the same thing,
Yes.
so we can't use that. Capitalism.
Okay, so I'm a Marxist, so it's okay. There may be a bone of contention here. I do blame capitalism for a great many things. But that term is complicated.
It is. They're anti-capitalist, but not Marxist.
No, and see, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
How can you be an anti-capitalist and not a Marxist?
Because capitalism is the white man's economy. It is how the white man continues to, quote unquote, continue the subjugation. But here's the thing, you introduce capitalism into any culture and they're going to be subjugated. There's going to be a class
Yes.
that's going to be subjugated.
Yes.
It's going to happen. Because as a former well-known comedian, screw it. As Louis C.K. used to say, go ahead and complain about capitalism while you're sitting on the toilet looking at your iPhone that was created by some Chinese kid who wants to die because of their job.
And I guarantee you that all of the people who are complaining about it have smartphones.
Are you damn right they do?
And they're wearing shoes.
They're tweeting nonstop.
They are. They are just as much a part of the problem
Yep.
as anybody else.
Yep.
And they are complicit.
Yeah. But capitalism is evil. Capitalism is evil as long as capitalism is evil in that the things that I see, I can fix. But the things I don't see, I don't want to know about.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing is, if you want to say that capitalism is evil on a massive scale in terms of big business, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But you're going to tell me that 83 is a part of the problem?
Well, they are.
I mean, or that...
Look at what they're doing. They're subjugating everybody to this one coffee shop on this street.
Small businesses are also capitalist.
They are.
What you need, rather than being anti-capitalist, which I kind of am a little bit, is well-regulated capitalism.
Yeah.
And allow small businesses to succeed.
There is, there's a term that Kyle Kalinske was talking about the other day, and it's called social capitalism, where the government and the corporations work hand in hand, and the government keeps the corporations afloat, and the corporations keep the government afloat. And it's this binary, God, there I go, using one of their terms.
It's all right. Binary's a good term.
This binary relationship between the corporations and the government, but you still have a semi-free market that flows underneath that keeps both of them afloat.
Yes.
And then you're talking about small businesses. The small businesses are a large part of that small free market underneath that's keeping them all afloat.
Yes.
Because they're pumping just as much money into the economy as the larger corporations. It's just more spread out.
I don't know. I see small businesses as being the answer.
Yeah.
As much as I like Marx's ideas of socialism, I don't see socialism as being the answer here. I think regulating big business and giving more freedom to small business and encouraging small business and giving small business tax breaks.
Small businesses, local news, reevaluating the local communities as far as how they're structured, power, the power dynamic is structured.
Yes.
These are all things we need to come back to.
Yes.
Where, as I've said before, we're too concerned with representatives and senators that have nothing to do with our state.
No.
It's time to come back home and focus on what matters here.
I agree.
What is happening in High Point, where we're at right now, or Greensboro, where I live, that's what matters most, because that's what affects us on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
If there's a tornado in Alabama, we
help.
by all means, we help. Okay? But it's not the be-all, end-all of our life in High Point, Greensboro, if Birmingham needs help.
Yep.
We support the ones that devote themselves to giving help abroad, but at the same time, we don't take our eyes off the local communities.
No.
So it's just, we've got to refocus. We're caught up too much in this national narrative.
Yep.
That doesn't do any of us any good because it doesn't affect us.
Nope.
The only people it really affects, New York, DC, LA, maybe Chicago, Boston. That's where the national politics actually matter, because these are the larger metropolitan cities that government policies really affect really quickly.
Yep.
For us, if they passed a law about, I don't know, well, look at the gas prices, okay? Gas prices is a perfect example. When the futures go up, gas prices go up. Even though there is no shortage,
Yep.
right? But then when the futures go down, it takes a minute for the gas prices come down, because you're talking about the entire US that's pumping off of this line,
Yep.
right? And I know there's more than one line. It's the same thing with politics. A lot of the laws that Congress passes, we don't feel on the local level for a while. We know it's coming,
Yeah.
but we don't hit the major urban areas. Yes, they do feel it, because the major urban areas are typically what they're writing the law for. But for us, it doesn't matter most of the time. It's a trickle down.
Yeah.
That's probably the only Reaganomics that works, is politics. The actual economy itself doesn't.
No, he was wrong about trickle down economics.
Yeah, but trickle down politics, yeah, that's real. So
I don't know. I can't even talk.
I love capitalism.
I
love a good mix of socialism, capitalism, and prostitutes.
Well, that makes you. Now you're in trouble. That makes you a social democrat.
I know. Well, I'm not a Democrat.
No. Social democrat doesn't
I know.
mean not the word Democrat. Democrat just means.
Well, no, I just pulled the fast one, the typical American stereotypical thing, right? I'm not a Republican.
Or a democratic socialist.
Yeah.
Which is what I am.
Right.
I believe in a free market that's regulated by the government, that
Right.
gives breaks to small businesses.
But at the same time, you think that we should have Medicare for all, and I don't think it'll work.
I don't think it'll work right now.
No.
I think we may come a day when we can do it.
We have a lot of, what we have to do is we have to implement smaller things to get there.
We do, but look at our colleague. He's going to pay thousands of dollars for back surgery.
Yeah.
And he has insurance.
Yeah.
That's obscene.
Yeah.
If you're going to do anything to start, so rather than going from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds from what we have now to socialized healthcare, isn't going to work.
Right.
It's too fast. It's too much too fast. But creating honest to God health insurance reforms so that people like our friend don't pay out the nose when they have insurance.
Yeah.
I think you would agree that needs to be fixed.
Yes, it does. It does need to be fixed.
But unfortunately, and this is why people like me go from what we have to socialism, is that the insurance lobby is so big that they're going to block every single avenue of legislation they can.
It's not just insurance, it's big pharma too.
It is
They're
big
in it
pharma.
together.
It is big pharma.
They're both in it together. Yeah. And that's one of the downsides of capitalism, is you have those conglomerates. If you don't, the ultimate tool in capitalism is regulation.
Yes.
If you ease the regulations, you're going to have them take advantage.
And that's what they've done.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If you don't have to eradicate capitalism, but you have to alter it.
Yep.
It has to be a different beast than it was before.
It's got to be a work in progress.
And it's not anymore. We've stalled it, and we've elevated these big businesses to almost religions in a pretty frightening way. Need more coffee?
I'll get some in a minute. All right, that's the end of the list.
And the end of the podcast. It's been fun.
Yeah.
That's like a record. No. The list bothers me because I think just on a purely linguistic level, we have terms available already that are more specific than the list offers.
Yeah. I just don't like those words.
I know you don't. My problem is that it's just adding more when more is not necessary.
No.
It's not efficient.
No, it's not. And they are designed, again, rhetorically, to create division so that they can then, because I think one of the things that I have not heard anybody talk about, even our friend Mr. Lindsay, when he talks about this, who is slowly, as he admitted, he said, I have slowly become an expert on this, and I never asked to be.
Yeah. He's had to.
But even he hasn't pointed this out. There is this, to me, looking at it from a language standpoint, they are cutting everything up, labeling everything to create a need for them to come in and fix it. They're creating the problem that they have to fix. They're not, the actual problem they're saying that they're all about, they're not actually addressing that problem.
No.
They're creating new problems, associating it with that problem of systemic racism or systemic, we'll just call it, systemic punishment, systemic segregation, systemic, because it's not all about color. You and I have talked about this. Yeah. The real problem is an economic one. It's not a color one.
It's class.
It's class.
It's Marx.
And every time you want to bring up a fucking ghetto in a city, I will point you towards poor backwoods Kentucky, poor backwoods West Virginia, poor backwoods North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi.
Yep.
They're just as poor, just as crime-ridden, just as bad off.
Just as disenfranchised.
Just as disenfranchised.
Absolutely.
As these urban areas where blacks have been, basically through gentrification, been put into a corner.
And concentration camps.
Yeah. This is not just about black urbans who are poor.
Which of course it is.
There are white.
Yeah.
There are poor whites that nobody's talking about. And they're the ones voting Trump in. I don't know why people would vote Trump in, because you're not talking about everybody. You're talking about one group.
Yep. And Trump was willing to talk about the group you weren't talking about. Had they talked to that group,
they would have gotten them.
This is why I like where I go to church. What have we chosen to solve? Food insecurity.
Yeah.
Which transcends
color.
Race. Race is a problem. And we're seeing African Americans disproportionately disenfranchised with regards to food insecurity in this town. But it's not just African Americans.
No.
There are a lot of people who can't get access to nutritious food.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere.
Yep.
And they're white, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're Asian, they're everywhere.
Hunger does not care what color you are.
It doesn't. And we're not hearing, and that's probably the most disturbing, because I'm passionate about food insecurity and prison reform. Those are my two favorite things, and we're not hearing these millennials talk about food insecurity. They're not talking about poverty, but those are the issues.
It's not on their radar because it doesn't fit the narrative that they've been fed. And here's the other thing: they've been fed this shit.
Yes.
There is an elite group behind all this that's pushing this narrative, and they're eating it like it's candy,
and never stopping to ask, what are the real problems?
Yeah. What are the real problems and what are the real solutions? Is bringing down the system actually a solution?
No. Changing it is.
Yeah, changing the system is one thing. Tearing it down? No. You're not going to get anywhere by doing that.
No.
Read your fucking history books. It never works.
It never works. It didn't work in 1917 in Russia.
It didn't work in 1917 in Russia. It didn't work in 1936 in Germany. It didn't work in 1938 in Italy. It did not work in Vietnam. It did not work in Egypt.
Or Korea.
It hasn't worked in the former, So when you see the Soviet Union fall in the 80s, you go through almost a decade of just pure and utter chaos.
Yes.
Not just in the U.S. or not just in Russia, but in the Slavic states around them. I mean, look at Kosovo, Serbia,
Yes.
Czechoslovakia. They all broke out into civil war. Georgia broke out into civil war. It never works.
The country, not the
state.
Yeah.
Well, there was civil war in Georgia too, when the Falcons left. No, I'm
Oh
kidding.
God.
No.
I hate the Falcons so much. Do they have fans?
They do.
They're all in Atlanta.
The Dirty Birds. Don't you remember
Yeah.
the Dirty Birds? Doing the Dirty Bird?
My team is one of the hated teams too, so I can't say anything. I'll keep my mouth shut.
Oh, the Steelers.
Oh yeah.
That's not hated. It's not. At least it's not the Patriots.
You're in New England, you too.
Oh yeah.
Or in Cincinnati.
Well, look at me. Well, now we've kind of become the old Detroit Lions. We're the
Yeah, but you're not playing on Thanksgiving Day yet.
Dolphins. We have played on Thanksgiving.
Did you win?
I don't know. Reno was quarterback, so we probably did.
So no, I think leaving out. I think if you're poor and you're living in a nasty situation, and this man comes to you and says, "I'm going to solve all your problems," and nobody else cares about you. He's right about one thing.
Yeah.
He's wrong about solving their problems because he couldn't care less.
Yeah.
He's right that nobody cares about them.
Yeah. And that's how he got elected.
No
and that's
one-
how he's going to get elected again. Because guess what? They're still not talking to them.
They've got to talk to him. They've got to go to these small
Bernie
towns.
tried talking to him.
Yes, he did. And he would have won this election.
Probably. Because he was talking about the things that they care about. And they've been saying this, Chuck Todd has been saying this for years. Nobody's talking about putting food on the table.
Nobody.
Elizabeth Warren tried to talk about it, but she stumbled all over it because, unfortunately, no matter how much we want to try and build up her grassroots childhood, she's become an elite.
Yes.
And so she's lost that connection.
Well, and I've told you before, I've spent time in soup kitchens, I've spent time in homeless shelters. I've never seen anyone who advocates for this stuff there.
Yeah.
I see my fellow Christians there from all churches.
Because it doesn't fit their narrative. That brings it too close to home. And then here's the thing, if they actually go to the soup kitchen, they'll realize there's not just one color there.
No. Because poverty's poverty.
Poverty is poverty.
It's sad that it takes the churches to work on that problem because the government won't do it.
Yeah.
And at every turn, the government will try to find a way to defund welfare in this country and create more poverty and more hunger. So if you're impoverished, you don't have the social justice warriors on your side, and you don't have the government on your side.
Nope.
Yeah, this actually does piss me off.
Yeah. I finally get you there.
I'm mad. I'm mad. I can't even tell you because I see this all the time. Prison reform. Let's have that conversation. They're not talking about that.
No, they're not. They're coming up with all these fucking bullshit terms. They're coming up with ways to segregate the population so they can then point out how each piece of that has been done wrong by the white man. But the biggest demographic that has been hurt the most, they're ignoring because it does not fit their narrative.
I know.
And that is poor people.
Yes.
Not poor whites, not poor blacks,
Poor
not
people.
poor Hispanics, poor people, period. They're not paying attention to it, and it doesn't fit their narrative because once they have to allow the poor in, well, now there's a whole fucking rainbow. What do you do? What are you going to tell the white poor family that they have been holding down all the other colors, and they're going to look at you and say, you're fucking crazy because I haven't had a dollar to my name since I was born.
Well, you have to have power to hold people down.
Yeah.
They have no power.
No.
Again, you want to have a conversation about racism, and we need to have a conversation about racism.
Yes,
Talk
we do.
about prisons.
Yeah.
Prisons.
Well, just the whole justice system, period.
The whole thing is geared toward disenfranchising and incarcerating black people.
We need to talk about that. We need to talk about gentrification.
And we don't. It doesn't fit the narrative.
It doesn't.
All they're doing, and to quote someone who said this recently, they're rearranging chairs on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And by creating more terms, well, what are you going to... Okay, so now, congratulations. We have more terms.
Yeah.
I'm fine with terms. I'm an English major. I love new words. But now what?
Yeah.
What are you going to do now? Because now you actually have to act.
Mm-hmm.
And protests are fine, and I've gone to several. What are you going to do after the protests? I know what I'm doing. I'm going to go to church. We're going to help some people. We're going to do prison ministry. We're going to feed people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. What are you going to do? Are you going to go home? Good for you.
You'll go home and tweet about it.
Good for you.
That's what they're going to do.
You want to make some changes? Come with me.
Yeah.
I'll show you what changes. Honest to God. And they're not interested in that.
No, they're not.
They could not care less about that.
They want to burn it down.
Because they want to be middle class.
Yeah.
They complain about the middle class, and everyone who's in this are middle class.
Yeah.
When it's like, I mean, how many truly poor people who are actually disenfranchised are a part of this movement?
Probably not that much.
No. They don't have time.
It's kind of like, do you remember when they were trying to get the strike together for the fast food workers?
Yeah.
And it fell apart?
Because they got to eat.
Yeah.
They got to eat. We've got exactly...
It made no sense whatsoever.
It's sad that we only have one popular activist standing up for the rights of poor people in this country.
Yeah.
And he's in this state.
Yeah.
He's alone. I mean, he's got other people with him.
Yeah.
But everyone's talking about social justice warriors, and Reverend Barber is on the ground doing hard work.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he's at a soup kitchen.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he's in the prisons. I guarantee you he's helping the poor, not just talking about the poor. Mm-hmm. Fuck that. Don't just talk. You see, I'm pissed. Don't just talk. Do something. And he's doing shit. That man is a god.
Yes, we did get to the last term. Bullshit.
Bullshit. It is. It's I mean, again, I think you've got to have a protest. You've got to show the country this is what we care about.
Yeah.
But then after the protests.
But you don't riot on top of that.
No, you don't.
And you don't. The Antifa shooting the Trump supporter this week, and then you got the kid. One of the things that aggravated me, I don't know if you know much about the Rittenhouse thing, or the whatever his name is.
It's Rittenhouse.
The white kid, the white kid with the gun, okay, who shot the two protesters, right? The video they're not circulating is the one where it's leading up to where he shot. They were chasing him down, and they cornered him, and that's when he turned and fired. It was self-defense.
Yeah.
What pisses me off is every liberal news channel that I've heard, they've said alleged self-defense. Watch the video.
Yeah.
It's self-defense.
Yeah.
What pissed me off about the conservative side is that they're trying to twist it.
So he's a hero?
So he's a hero. He's not a hero. He's not a martyr. And he's also not a villain. What he was a scared kid who had been trapped.
And who shouldn't have had a gun to begin with.
Exactly.
And that's the conversation we're not having.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what irritates me about that whole story.
It's about choosing your side and reporting the news in a way that's going to support your side.
When the real story is he shouldn't have had a gun, he was a kid, and he was trapped. And now he's done something that forget the politics, forget the implications of white kids shooting at Black Lives Matter protesters. Think about what that child at 19 is going to carry in his brain and on his shoulders for the rest of his life.
Oh, yeah.
That he took two lives.
He's never going to get over it.
No, he's going to have a lot of there's a lot of therapy in his future. And it's not deprogramming therapy. It is therapy for the fact that he took two lives.
And you don't get over that easily.
No, you don't.
If ever.
And when you're 19, you don't understand the ramifications of that at that moment.
No.
He's in for a massive, world-shaking realization. It's going to cripple him. Emotionally, it's going to cripple him.
And then the families of the people who got killed.
Yeah.
They're never going to get over it.
No.
That's a part of the problem is there's no more compassion, just finger pointing.
We don't think, there is no empathy.
John Paul II was shot by this guy who tried to assassinate him. When John Paul got out of the hospital, guess what he did?
He forgave him.
Went to him, visited him, and forgave him.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what I said before. There's no more forgiveness anymore.
No.
You have to forgive. In South Carolina, in the church in South Carolina, guess what? They forgave. I'm not saying there's a connection between Christianity and forgiveness. I'm just saying there's probably a connection between Christianity and forgiveness. And that the churches are the ones who are saying, you did wrong,
Yeah.
but God loves you.
Yep.
And so do we.
Yep.
And you don't see them saying that either.
No.
That's the failure. Forgiveness is gone, no more humor, and looking away when the real problem is in front of you, like the cell phone that you're using, built by kids who have nothing.
Yeah.
But go ahead, tweet away.
Tweet about the injustices.
Yeah. But they're not in this country, so you don't care. They're not in your cul-de-sac in your white middle-class suburban neighborhood. just like the poor people, you don't have to see.
So there was and we're going to end on this because this is talk about irony. There was a walk-away rally in Chicago, about 300 to 400 people in this rally. Okay, Black Lives Matter protesters around them. There were more black people in the walk-away rally than in the Black Lives Matter protesters. It was majority white kids in the Black Lives Matter protesters surrounding the walk-away rally people. More African Americans in that group than the Black Lives Matter group. What does that tell you about who's actually running the show in Black Lives Matter? That's all I'm going to say.
Understand, we have no problem with Black Lives Matter. We're fans.
No. Okay, so let me explain.
Oh, Lord.
Let me explain my position.
I'm trying to keep my job here.
If you ask me, do Black Lives matter? Yes, they do. Yes, Black lives absolutely matter.
They also
Is there
matter,
a
yeah.
Is there a systemic problem with us with holding black people at certain stations in their life?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. I've never argued that. Do I want to sign up for the movement Black Lives Matter? No. Because the movement and the statement are separate. And the movement is dangerous. The statement is real. It's just that simple. So, then if you ask me, do I think blue lives matter? I will say yes. I believe every Vulcan has a right to vote.
Nice. I should have seen it coming.
Yeah. That's the first thing I thought of the first time I heard that. I was like, Spock matters?
What is that? The movie, one of the early movies where McCoy looks at Spock and says, "You green-blooded, inhuman." They were best friends, even though they didn't like the fact they were best friends.
All three of them. They were a trio of really close friends.
Leonard Nimoy, country music singer. Get your head around that one. He made an album.
No, wait. We'll end on this. Gomer Pyle singing "Oh Sweet Indiana" at the Indianapolis 500.
And he can sing.
Oh yeah.
He sounds nothing like. His voice is entirely different.
Golly.
I love that guy.
And Goober. Judy. All right, that's good. We're going to cut it off there.
Before we get fired.
Yes. Yeah, let me tell you how what I really think about the gays. No. I love how they do that, how they say the gays in this country or the blacks in this country. Are you going to go to the Walmart in this country? Kills me.
Gonna get run out on the rail like Lindsay.
I'm telling you. No, he left. He left before he did all that.
Was it Bogosian?
Was
run out on the rail.
But supposedly he still got his job. They have not found a legal reason to fire him yet.
And they won't.
Nope, they can't. And that's what's pissing them off. And they've written him up several times, but it's never held water because he hasn't done anything that is wrong with the university's policies.
Because he wouldn't.
Everything he did was perfectly fine.
And he's a liberal atheist, for God's sake. He would disagree with everything I stand for.
That doesn't matter to them. They don't care. He's still white.
But he never denies systematic racism in prisons and the justice system. In fact, they advocate for making change.
Yep.
He just doesn't like the movement.
Nope.
And the buzzwords. That's the other problem. We're going to end on this. Buzzwords. I told you last week.
The list that we had.
Yes.
Buzzwords.
But it's the same. It's the same. It's not, they're different buzzwords, but it's like the buzzwords you had to learn as a grad student to get your master's.
Yeah. What was the one that you came up with last week?
Masculinist signifying economies. That's from Judith Butler.
I love it.
And I understand what she's trying to say, but she could have found a better way to say it.
Yeah.
There's
like economies that glorify men.
Yes.
Done.
But that's not how theory works.
No.
We're on another topic now. We got to close it. This could go on forever.
You don't want to talk about the cisnormal shirt you're wearing?
Welcome to another episode of us bitching for an hour and a half. Did we ever do anything else?
No, that's it.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, that's the whole point of this, is to get one of our conversations down, because believe it or not, we have like 10 or 12 of these a day.
Yeah. Although I normally don't get this angry.
Yeah, that's true.
My heart is still pumping right now.
I'm usually the one that gets mad.
Oh, I'm so pissed. Because I know I'm not going to see any of those motherfuckers in the soup kitchen. They're not going to do it.
No, it doesn't fit their narrative. All right, on that happy note.
Vulcans matter.
Yes, Vulcans matter.
According to you.
That's Dr. J. I'm the barber. Peace.
Now it's time for Dr. J.